Welcome to the Tits Up podcast with Coley Arnold, the unapologetic space for women in the thick of it. You know, the messy middle where you're too far in to quit, but the finish line feels like a mirage. Where the pressure is high, the stakes are real, and every win feels hard-earned. This isn't a highlight reel. This is the unfiltered truth about building a business, holding your life together, and finding your fire when it would be easier to burn it all down. If you're tired of fake perfection and ready for the real, raw conversations that make you feel seen and lit up, then grab your coffee, your courage, and let's do this. Shoulders back, head high, tits up, girlfriend. Are you building a business that might look good on paper but still feels lonely, messy, or unclear behind the scenes? You don't have to figure it all out alone. The Foundress is a community for female founders who are ready to scale with clarity, connection, and purpose. Whether you're making your first 6 figures or scaling towards 7, we're the place where your ambition is seen, your ideas are sharpened, and your success is celebrated. Inside, you'll find strategy, deep support, and a powerful circle of women who get it. Because at Foundress, we don't just network, we grow together. If you're craving more than just another business group, if you're ready for mentorship, momentum, and women who speak your language, come join us. Your seat at the table is waiting. Head to foundress.co to learn more. Today on the podcast, I am sitting down with my friend, Lindsay Fricks, who is a luxury real estate agent here in Phoenix, Arizona, and owns her own community of high-achieving female real estate agents called the Legacy Agents. Good morning, Lindsay, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be on Tits Up for sure.
We're ready. Somehow this became the Tits Up dance. I'm not sure how that happened, but
I'm here for it.
I was speaking on a panel this weekend, and she said something about the Tits Up dance, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, why is this? If you're listening and not watching, you should go watch on YouTube because it's quite the ridiculous dance that
it's a nice
I've
little
been
shimmy.
doing. Yeah, it's like a little
gets the girls moving.
Shoulder shimmy. Yeah,
it works.
Anyway, we're already off topic, so this is going to be a really fun and exciting episode.
Can't wait.
Okay, so I got the privilege to meet you. We have known of each other for a very long time.
Absolutely.
And really never met, which is wild because we found out we live 3 streets away in the same neighborhood, and you live right next door to one of our best friends. So wild that we've never actually met in person until about a month ago.
Yeah. And
I just reached out, I think on Instagram, and I was like, okay, I just found out you live literally in my neighborhood, and I feel like we should go grab coffee. And we grabbed a 3-hour coffee.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't stop talking. I think we covered every topic.
We really did.
In our lunch. Yeah.
And the universe really wants us to be friends because it's bringing us together regularly.
We keep running into at events that we didn't know each other were going to since we've met. So it's been really fun. We have seen each other a lot. I think more than my best college friends who I see a lot. I haven't seen them as much as you.
I literally do not know that I've seen any single person more than you aside from my husband.
Which I'm not mad about. I love it. I love it.
I do too.
And we realize we have so much in common, which has been so fun. So I want to kind of back up and I want you to introduce yourself and tell us kind of what you do, how you got started in your industry, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So, if we go way back, I'm a wildcat. I know you're a sun devil.
Sun devil.
We'll have to let it
We just
slide.
did. I just took my son to a ASU college tour yesterday, and he's at U of A today.
Okay.
I'm not thrilled about that
I
U of A,
mean,
but
it is what it is.
it's all right.
I'm actually not
Both good
crazy
schools.
about our arrival. I just, throw it out there just because it does give context. I'm originally from Utah, moved here for college, been here since 2002. So just a hot 23 years. And I started in corporate America. So I like to say that I'm a corporate America dropout. Sometimes I say I retired, but I spent 12 years in Fortune 500 food and beverage companies, General Mills, Tyson Foods, big companies. And one of my last roles there, they moved me to headquarters in Minneapolis. And it wasn't the weather that scared me off from corporate America. But I just couldn't envision that being the rest of my life. I couldn't sit there and see this is it for me. So I bounced around in a couple jobs when I left General Mills and then eventually did a tech startup. And during the time when I was at the tech startup, I got my real estate license and I thought, I'm just going to have this license. My grandmother was a realtor my whole life. I've really liked real estate, but I bought my first house in a lottery in 2006, right before the crash. I foreclosed on my first house. So I had a pretty rough experience in real estate. initially myself. So that was like one of those hard experiences that, although I had always been really interested in real estate as a career, I shied away from it because I was burned pretty hard, like a lot of us were, right? I feel like a lot of the millennial generation bought their houses right during that time, and a lot of us are a little scarred. So I went into real estate kind of part-time in 2017, and then at the end of 2018, I went full-time. And honestly, I just did exactly what my grandmother did. My grandma launched her career in real estate by doing an open house, and she invited 9 couples. She held another agent in her brokerage's houses open, one of their listings open, and invited people. And she could track almost every single sale back to her first open house over her 40-year career. It was like
That's
so
insane.
incredible. And there's like news articles on it, but she was a real icon. She was the 1984 Realtor of the Year, which was the year I was born.
That was the year I was born too.
It was
Twinsies.
destiny. So I've been in real estate now for like 7-8 years, and 3 years ago I started a community for women. So much like you, I'm really into collaboration over competition, and I really do feel like our industry, real estate, is very disenfranchised. You're kind of on an island, and because you're all competitors with each other, it's really hard to make authentic, organic, raw, real relationships where we take off the armor, take off the masks, and really show our authentic versions of ourselves. So that's why I designed it. And I've had a mastermind for 3 years, which I'm now sunsetting. That's a nice way of saying
transition.
Yeah. I think there's a better way to serve people. And so I'm in a kind of a pivot on that, but really focused on helping people buy and sell homes. I really love supporting people through big life transitions that normally come with a housing change as well.
Yeah, I love that so much. Okay, there's so much I want to dive into, but first I want to talk about your grandmother having that first open house and having almost all of her business rooted back into those 9 couples. And I think this is I've had this conversation with a lot of people. And I think, I don't know about you, but when I started running my business, I heard a lot of advice that said, do business like a man. Go out and hustle. You constantly have to be selling. And it never felt right to me. I always would go into that situation and I'd be like, oh, they have superpowers. Men have amazing superpowers. They can sell. They have so much confidence. And I admired that. But every time I would try to sell like a quote unquote man, I just felt gross. I didn't feel right about it. And what I've done some work kind of figuring out, like, is this me or is there a different way to do this? Like, what's wrong with me, right? We kind of first question ourselves, like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I be like everyone else who can like go in there and like demand a sale right away? And what I've found in this kind of like research and kind of really just sitting with what I do like well in sales is that I think women build relationships. And we build loyal relationships. And the story about your grandma is such a great example of that, because if she would have just gone in there and done the sale, get in, get out, and then you go in the next day and you have to make a new sale and then get in and get out, right? But like I believe that the way women do business, that's our superpower, is that we can go in and we can build a relationship. It might take us a little bit longer to get maybe to that desired result. But again, she made a whole career off of 9 couples, which means she had to have intimate relationships with all of these people so that they trusted her, they knew her, and then they would refer her. And then once you get that referral, you get another referral.
Absolutely.
And then you get another referral. And I think that's such a beautiful picture of how, instead of trying to fight how we were created as women, I think if we can lean into that and use that as a superpower. I mean, have you seen that in your business as well?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I'm reflecting on a lot of how I grew through corporate America and just from being a kid. I think we were conditioned from a very young age to really be in hustle culture, right? And I know that that's like taboo now. Everyone talks about like the anti-hustle culture, but really, like, most of the success models I saw as a child, outside of my grandmother and my mom, almost all of the other success models were men.
Yeah.
And when you go into corporate America, it doesn't really reward you
Right.
for being in your feminine flow
Right.
and being in your creative side or your soft and nurturing side. So
Mhm.
I developed a lot of habits out of survival that kept me in my masculine energy for a very, very long time. And although I started my career in real estate, definitely knowing that relationships were going to be at the foundation of my
Right.
success. And I was definitely had the best blueprint for that with my grandma. And I could go into story after story of just, I would spend a couple weeks every summer with her in the backseat of her car. And she was a community icon, like a pillar, a true pillar. And that's really what people respected her. They came to her for advice, whether they needed a job or were going through a divorce or it was they were doing a potluck. And I distinctly remember we would be like on our way home from showings for the day, and she'd be like, oh, we need to stop at Brown's Chicken. It was in Chicago. You need to stop at Brown's Chicken because so-and-so just had surgery and I want to drop off dinner. So she had a real like motherly, nurturing way about her business. So I kind of had a hybrid though, because my first year in real estate, the way that I found success quickly, I did 100 open houses my first year. So I averaged two, sometimes depending upon the week, 3 open houses. So I did grind it out, but I can say I developed really, really authentic relationships. In fact, one of my first open houses was in the Kierland area. And it was more of a second home community. And one of my favorite people I've met through real estate that has never transacted, she swears she's going to. And I'm like, I don't even care. She lives in Wisconsin. Her name's Lori. And we check in with each other all the time. We follow each other on social media. But that's really where the joy came from for me, was these relationships. And, one of the coolest things that people didn't tell me about being in real estate is you're often people's first call when they have really exciting news. Like, we're going to get married or we're having a baby. But you're also the person people call on the worst day. Like one of my parents passed, and, now we need to figure out what to do with the house. And, or we're going through a divorce. Like, there's a lot of things. So that's been like the exciting part that always keeps like that human, kind of feminine element to what I like in real estate now, which is just that relationship, really caring for one another. And being able to like understand that although that first year I was definitely in my masculine energy, I was hustling. I burned out and had to learn how to do it differently. And now survival looks a lot differently. So I'm definitely more in flow. I have more healthy boundaries. I need to turn off my telephone. I have more healthy boundaries and I can say no to things that no longer feel like in alignment. And I think back to that whole just feminine nature is that we've talked about this before. Women are conditioned not to listen to themselves. We're conditioned to not trust ourselves, to not hear our own intuition.
Which is so funny because our gift is that intuition.
It's insane.
We've been told our whole lives that we can't trust that.
Absolutely. And that we should look for, advice and guidance outside of ourselves. And so obviously I coach now very high achieving women. And one of the first things I'm always going to tell them is I don't have any of the answers for you, right? I'm going to hold up a mirror to you and be like, this is what I'm seeing, but you already know all of the answers. And I think making sure that we're guiding women back to themselves, because that is our unique gift that men don't have. So that was a long-winded answer, but
beautiful.
I definitely feel like the masculine, feminine energy and understanding that has played a really big role, especially over the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think too, just when you are doing this for your business, you're like, oh, I have to eat. Right. So there is an element of hustle that we all have to kind of get through, especially for the first couple years, right? When we're building our clientele and we're building our business. But I think along the way, what I heard you say was that you were even though you were hustling, you were building relationships.
For sure.
And that's the long game. Right? And that's when you're going to get the calls 10 years later, 20 years later, because you've built those foundations and you've built those relationships. And if you continue to nurture those relationships, that's where those referrals come from.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my business is, I would say, probably 90% now referral or past clients. And obviously it's because I do have systems that help me, right? Like I don't organically just remember to touch base with everyone quarterly.
Right.
I wish I did, but the truth is I do actually care. And I think that you can be systematized and have, the processes in place to help you. But ultimately I have to do the connections. I have to build the rapport. I have to remember the babies and dogs' names and birthdays and anniversaries and, what sports teams they like or they don't like, and things like that. And so, but building relationships, I think, is at the root of everything we do. Early on in my career, I felt so inferior and intimidated by other agents that I actually put like a very strong wall up to other agents. And then I realized this is the key to success isn't isolating yourself from other real estate agents. It's surrounding yourself with the best. So I know when you started Foundress, it was out of a personal need for you. That's really what Legacy Agents came from too, was like, I wanted to be around other badass women who were going the same direction that I was and wanted to do that in community together. We wanted to lock arms, grow, have these really big goals and big dreams and not be intimidated by each other's success or wins. We wanted people to celebrate with us as loudly as possible, but also commiserate with us. So, I think that building relationships within your own industry is as important as building relationships with your clients, for sure.
It's interesting because I know there's some networking groups out there that only allow like one person per industry.
Oh, absolutely.
In those rooms, that I totally understand where they're coming from for referrals. That makes sense. But what we found in Foundress, like people are hesitant. We actually have this story that I will have them on my podcast. We're trying to coordinate schedules, but there's these two women that both have salt companies.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. So we have Sea Salt and Secret Garden. And they're different flavors, but obviously they're both table salt, seasoning salt. And I remember when Gina had kind of joined Foundress, Jessica from Sea Salt is one of our ambassadors. And so she's been with us for a long time. And Gina was like, oh my gosh, I'm terrified. I shouldn't be here. Like her self-doubt was kind of creeping in. And I introduced them, and Jess from Sea Salt, was just a few years further along in her business than Gina, sat down and she's like, what do you need? Do you need connections to these stores? Do you need my spreadsheet to track all your inventory? And Gina was like, wait, what? Like, you're not mad at me for being in this room?
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's where we grow together. And Jess was such a beautiful example of that. And now they collaborate with each other and they support each other and cheer each other on. And it's such a cool picture of like, when we don't have that scarcity mindset and we have abundant mindset, we can partner and we can come together as women and support each other, even though we're in the same industry. And I think you've done that beautifully with Legacy Agents. Like, you're bringing in these top agents that really anyone else would look at as your competition. So talk me through how I know you said you obviously wanted that for your own personal growth, but how did that start? Did people kind of question you when you were building this? Of like, you're crazy. What are you doing?
Yes. Everyone always thinks I'm crazy because I have I am a true entrepreneur. So I'm always ideating and I always have like a lot of things going on. I truly believe that like, I'm kind of like that portfolio career. If you've heard that concept of like, I like to have several irons in the fire. But when I started Legacy Agents, I had actually participated in a very similar mastermind program. And except for it was all 7 and 8 figure earners in just general entrepreneur, mostly online businesses. And I quickly realized that being in real estate has a lot of unique challenges. And being the primary one of how we're paid, right? It's complicated. People don't understand it. And it also is you do all of the work and maybe get paid, right? So it takes a very specific personality to be able to handle that level of stress on your nervous system every day. And
you're probably the number one industry to get like negotiated on your price.
Negotiated on our price, but we also, just like and people don't trust our industry. So we have so many headwinds, like misunderstanding, mistrust, and really low barriers to entry. And so part of why I started Legacy Agents was because I needed other people who understood what it was like to even just be in our compensation model.
Yeah.
And you know, I chose it, so I'm not complaining, but it does come with a very specific set of challenges. So when I first started it, though, I had just been a real estate agent going into that, and then I did this like hard left turn into I now have this community. And I don't know about you, but like the first round of it was the most incredible, magical, beautiful experience of my life. I think whenever you start something new, you always have those people that are like your ride or dies. They'll buy and do anything you create. I could be like, let's go ride on magical unicorns. And
like, sweet,
they're going to be like, I'll be there. Right. So that was the first year and it was incredible. And you know, I didn't know what I was doing building it. And if you were to ask me today, I wouldn't change anything, but I definitely like the structure of how I put it together, the scalability of the model. I really didn't have a long-term lens. It was like, I'm going to test and learn from this. And so I tested and learned and iterated over 3 years. I've had 10 women in the program each year, and each year I've learned a lot of different things. And so part of the reason why I'm closing this format is because I do believe that I can create transformation on a larger scale with a different format. But I think that there's more people in the industry that are looking to raise professionalism, run their business like a business, and work with other hardworking, but really like down to earth, authentic, genuine people. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in real estate. I always say like one of the worst things to happen to our industry was selling sunset. And the false narrative of how easy and fun it looks, right? Like, yeah, it can be fun, but like, we're not just like walking into houses with champagne and sitting on, you know, somebody's random bed and having a chit chat on camera for a living. Like, that's not realistic. So it's just been, I think that, I don't even know if I answered your question there, but
just like kind of when you were trying to bring in that community, I think from the outside, it looks crazy to want to bring in, people that are your competition.
For sure.
But I think you said it so well. It was like, there's a craving for people who want to do this well and do it right. And the best way to do that is to learn from each other.
Absolutely.
Right. And if we go back to that abundant mindset, there's enough business for everyone who does want to do it well. And I think you prove that with your community, which is so beautiful.
For sure. I do firmly believe, of course, everyone kind of falls into scarcity survival at times, but I do really believe there's more than enough to go around. And I think it's really interesting because when people enter into the community, almost all of them double or triple their business. And a lot of them are doing business together, which is really interesting because the majority of them are in the Phoenix metro. So the number of houses that have been sold because of our ecosystem of legacy agents and just the sheer amount of problems solved and creative ideas and it's honestly, it's wild how much having this group of women has accelerated my learning in this industry. And I feel like it's like, oh, you take me, but you don't just get me, you get 10 of me. And so I call them my personal board of directors. And I mean, they're there for everything, but it really does, being around the best expedites your learning. You do really become the people that you're around. And one of the things actually that inspired it was not only are you the sum of the people you spend the most amount of time with, but somebody put a spin on that is that your income is the average of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with.
Wow,
and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And it's proven year and year again with these women that they're right because they all pretty much rise and grow and they start making, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's really cool to see. That's awesome. Just when you're around that, it just seems like everyone kind of rises to the occasion and lifts each other up.
Okay, you said something I really want to call out because I'm hoping people are really hear this because I think we all need this reminder is that you said when you started this community, you had no idea what you were doing.
Totally.
And so often we have these big dreams inside of us. We have this idea. As entrepreneurs, we have lots of ideas and dreams, right?
For sure.
And we wait. I had this podcast on my to-do list for 4 years. And I told myself that, oh, I'm not ready. I've actually never listened to podcasts. Or I don't have enough guest lists. I don't have enough money to get my hair and makeup done every day, which clearly I did not do today. Like, you know what I mean? Like we have all these excuses.
Totally.
And the people who are out there actually making money are the ones who just started.
Totally. I mean, and I had no intention of starting a mastermind. I was sitting at an event. I'm an event junkie. I go to all events. Obviously that's why you see me so much right now. I love going. I'm always learning. I do feel like I'm a lifelong learner. And I was at an event by my friend Rebecca Cafiero. And it was the Pitch Club Live event. Yeah. And one of my favorite podcasters, actually, Keisha Get Mary, she did the Empower Her podcast, and she's just an incredible podcaster. And she said on stage, if there's something that you don't see in your industry the way you think it should be done, that's your calling to create it. I was like, well, that feels like a call out.
Right.
And we need to get rid of that. I don't know why it's in there.
Can you get it?
Yeah, we good?
Okay. Yep.
So I was like, immediately, I mean, I was blown over when she said that. I was like, this idea had been percolating below the surface, and I kept thinking, not me.
Not me, right.
Like, one, you're not a coach, you're not a community builder, you're a realtor, you sell houses, like, you don't know how to do this. And at the end of that day, they had everyone go around and kind of like claim what they were going to do. And I stood up and I was like, I'm going to start a mastermind for women in real estate. And it was on October 22nd, and I launched December 1st.
Wow.
I also am of the firm belief that success loves speed.
Yep.
And I didn't overthink it. I just had to like sit down and like, what do I need to do today to get myself closer to that? And it was messy.
As
so
they all are,
messy.
right?
And like very cringy. Like I will not go back and review that time on social media. I was like, ugh. But
it worked.
But it worked.
You sold
and
out.
I sold out, and it was, easier than I thought to sell the first year. Now the second and third year, that's where like I didn't really you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know I should be promoting it all year long and building a wait list and an email list. It would have been really helpful if somebody would have shared that with me, but I was selling houses and building this community, and it was magical. So yeah, I mean, you just kind of have to start. And one of the things we do a lot, and I know that visualization has been a huge part of every big move that I've made has come from this visualization. In fact, I think it's so funny because do you watch any of like the Formula One shows, the Formula One racing?
I mean, my husband has them on every Sunday.
Okay, well, I'm really into a very diverse subset of semi-reality TV, scripted reality TV show. But one of them is this F1 show, and they don't show them practicing on the Formula One racetrack.
Right.
They're visualizing it. That's what athletes do, right? And so you just bring that over into your work life, and you visualize what you need to be at the end of it, and helps you collapse the time to get there. So it was like, okay, well, who do I need to be today if I'm going to have a community of women that I'm going to be leading? And then you just kind of have to do it, right? You just have to show up and make your decisions, make your investments, and plan your day and spend your time around all of the people that you would be if you were already there. And so that's kind of been the secret sauce for like getting my ass going when I have a really big goal that just needs to like.
So walk us through, because I think this would be really helpful. Okay. So someone listening here has an idea that's like stirring up in their belly. They're ready. Yeah. So walk us through a visualization.
So let's say that let's come up with a business. Let's say somebody wants to I don't know why floral arrangements is coming to me.
I mean, we all secretly want to be a florist. Yeah, like right? I mean, we think we are when we go to Trader Joe's, and we're like, look how great
I've gotten pretty good at it.
I
but
pretend to be good at it.
I'm not. Okay, so let's say that you're like, you love floral design, and you're like, I really feel like not me. I don't know how to start a business or anything. The first thing I would do is like sit down and write out. Your brain is so amazing, and it believes whatever you tell it. It doesn't know facts from fiction, right from wrong. It believes what it hears on repeat. And most of it was programmed before we were 8 years old, which is also crazy. So one of the things that I think is really cool is like how you can create new neural pathways. And that's by writing something, reading it, and saying it out loud. So that's a process I go through anytime. So let's say I want to be a florist. I'm going to be like, sit down. I'm going to journal out, probably mostly unscripted, just like, freehand, of like, okay, if I were a florist, what would my day look like? Okay, I'd probably wake up, I'd work out, I have my coffee, and then I'd probably have like some more creative time, right? Like I'm going to then the wholesale place, and I'm envisioning what my life is going to look like as this, what my bank account looks like, all of who's going to be around me. What does the space look like? I'm envisioning all of it, and then I'm writing it down, and I'm literally mentally rehearsing it over and over again. And then the question is like, okay, well, what do I need to do today to be that person? So it would be, like you can just sit down. I am a big meditation person, but I also am not like, the meditation of where you just like clear your thought. I have ADHD. I've never had a clear brain.
There's no clear moments.
Yeah, that's never happened in my whole life. But so I love like a guided meditation where you're going through actually this, and you're really just like absorbing what it looks like and rehearsing what it looks like to be in that new reality. But in order for it to become real, you have to create what it looks like. And the cool part about that is that if you can imagine it, that means there's a version of reality that it exists and is available to you. Like,
so cool.
Right? So like anything you've imagined. So like I imagine myself on private jets all the time.
Amazing.
That definitely means that right? I'm like, that means that and is it any coincidence that one of my friends sent me a private jet event today? Like we should go to this private jet event. I'm like, we absolutely should, right? So what you thought literally gets attracted back, or what you think literally gets attracted back to you. So it all starts with trying to really actually conceptualize what it looks like on paper. And then you can start rehearsing and making decisions as if you're her today.
That's amazing. Okay, so you write it and then you say it out loud?
Oh, yeah.
Do you read it out loud, or do you just basically say like, I am a florist?
So
my day looks like.
I believe in like declarations versus affirmations. Affirmations kind of come off as like wishes, right? Declarations are decisions. And so when you're in that, I like to write it, read it, say it aloud. And then the most powerful exercise, are you familiar with Louise Hay, the work of Louise Hay? Oh, incredible. Okay. So she wrote a book called You Can Heal Your Life. Okay. Yeah, I think it was written in like the 70s or 80s.
I love
it. But she's really the first person that came up with the concept of mirror talk. And so that's literally looking at yourself in the mirror, which we do all the time. Yeah. But we rarely look into our eyes and speak into our own souls with our own words. And so one of the things that I have this 21-day mindset reset that I will do occasionally and guide groups through it. But part of it is saying what your declarations are to yourself in the mirror 5 times, and then sealing it off with a little Mel Robbins high five in the mirror. And that really helps it. But doing that every single day, I know they say 21 days to create a new habit. I don't know, 21 days, 3 weeks, however long it takes. But that practice and that memorization, the first week you're going to be like, I feel like such an imposter, right? The second week you're like, all right, I can kind of see it. And by the third week you're like, this is it, right? Like you're making all your floral arrangements and you've got wholesale orders of vases coming to your house and boxes everywhere. And
like now I own a business.
I mean, right? I mean, it's that it doesn't, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it is really about like your brain is so what powerful. You tell it. And that's why social media, what news you watch, all of the things that you intake, all of those inputs are so important. So anytime I feel like I can't hear myself think, it's like time for a social media detox. It's time to like block out the noise and be able to, like we said earlier, come back and hear ourselves think. And that's really what it comes down to.
I love that so much. Okay, so we're going to write it. We're going to read it. We're going to say it. I think we need to do a 21-day challenge in Foundress. We should do it. If you guys want to join us,
let's do it.
Yeah.
I do it like, a couple times a year. And it's just great. It's based off of a lot of different of the thought leaders in mindset space. So Carol Dweck, love her book Mindset. Joe Dispenza, I love his meditation method, although his voice literally makes me want to throw myself off a bridge. Let's see, Debbie Ford. One of my favorite books was the Dark Side of Light Chasers.
Okay.
It should be required human reading. But so I kind of took all of these methods from a bunch of different texts that I had learned, and wrapped them into one whole program. But it's a meaty program though, but I'm definitely down to have a Foundress version of 21 Day Mindset Reset.
I love it. I was doing a mindset class one time, and she was talking about all your senses and how we really want to bring all of our senses when we're kind of trying to manifest something.
Okay.
And so same thing, her process was very similar, but when she was like, when you're writing it, you need to write down what it smells like.
Oh, yeah.
What it sounds like. So she was trying to manifest her house, which she ended up getting. And she said it was eerily exactly the same as what she had like visioned when she was manifesting it. But it was so interesting. She said, I would literally sit there and still myself and listen to what the wood floor creaking under my feet sounded
so
like.
Powerful.
And she goes, now every morning as I'm walking to go get my coffee, as my wood floor creaks, it's like I know this sound, and it brings me so much gratitude because I knew that this is what I had like called in for myself.
That's so amazing. Definitely connecting everything to the emotion.
Yeah.
Connecting the thought with the emotion, I think, is a really important part of especially that initial journaling exercise of like, how are you going to feel, right?
Yeah.
But I love the thought of bringing all of the senses into it.
So good. And then I think too, like when we fear, oftentimes what holds us back is we're either fearing failure or we're feeling success. And so, and both those can be true at the same time, right? And also, both of those could happen at any time.
For sure.
We could fail at any moment. We could succeed at any moment. But oftentimes it's that fear that holds us back from moving forward. But I love the thought of like when you're visualizing, you're creating your day. And so you're actually getting to see like, oh, if I'm successful, this is what this looks like. It's almost like I remember being in therapy and my therapist was like, when you're feeling like overwhelmed or stressed or frustrated, something is like out of whack. She's like, your brain doesn't know the difference between that and like being chased by a bear.
Absolutely.
And so she's like, you need to actually look around over your shoulders and be like, okay, brain, there's no bear. We're safe. But you have to actually do that like motion for your brain to understand that it's safe. And I think that's similar concept of like when you're manifesting, we have to write down, okay, what does this look like if success comes?
Absolutely.
And then I don't know if this is crazy, maybe it doesn't work, but for me, it
I can't
helps.
wait.
But I like to also go, okay, what happens if this fails?
Oh, right. Okay.
And I write it down
scenario.
And I think about it and go, can I live with this?
Absolutely.
If I choose to chase this dream.
For sure. And I think that always playing out with the worst case scenario. And but did you die?
Right. Right.
Like,
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Embarrassed, maybe a little bruised, but I'm still here.
I actually think though that the majority of us have failed a lot at this point in our lives in entrepreneurial. And I think for me, I'm more afraid of what the cost of success is now than failure because I've practiced failure, right? Like I know I can fail and survive. I have plenty of receipts of failing and surviving. The more unknown is the wild success and what that cost of that and the repercussions of that could be. So I totally see
And what
that.
does that look like? And I think writing that down of like, okay, what are you going to do if you make all this money?
Yeah.
When you own your own private jet, like what does that look like in a day? Like what do? Are you gifting it? Are you using it for good? All those things that I think our mind tells us that if we have all that money, we might become a bad person.
Well, absolutely.
Or whatever our story was growing up. Okay, so I had to tell this little story. I thought it was the cutest. So when my son was, I think he was in middle school, which is like a tumultuous time for
everyone,
young children. And he comes home one day and we talk about this all the time. Like, okay, think about like, what's the worst that can happen? If it's something that you're excited about or passionate about, like think about that. And if you can live with that, then go do it. And, how many times do you tell your children things that they're like, oops, like, I have no idea, like they don't remember, they don't process it. But so he comes home from school. He's like, Mom, I am dancing in the pep assembly at school.
This.
And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like little sixth grader. And he's like, I go, well, why did you decide to do that? Why did you try out? And he's like, well, I thought what was the worst that could happen and people would make fun of me. And I thought, I don't care. And so he did it. And
I love
they
this.
did like a little routine. It was the cutest thing. But I was like, oh my gosh, well, first of all, you're actually listening to me, which felt very cool.
I love this.
And then I just loved like I'm like, gosh, we need to learn from these little brains. Like, it's just so much easier. It was so much easier for him to kind of take that advice because he was like, I don't understand. I think the less lived, right? The less like actual proof of like, oh, this could go really bad for you.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
But I was like, how many things are we holding ourselves back on because we can't visualize like what's the worst that can happen and can I be okay with that?
Yeah,
and what's the best that can happen? And am I okay with that?
But either way, we're hardwired to stay the same.
Yeah.
Like we're hardwired to just survive. And our egos and nervous system, they want predictability and consistency. So anytime your brain gets a wild idea, right? Like your body a lot of times is like, absolutely not. So you do have to have a specific set of skills and tools to be able to overcome that if you want to get past it.
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't know what those are. So like, that's where, when I learned, before I started my mastermind, the mastermind that I was in was $45,000 a year, pretty big investment. And mostly everyone in there was making 7 figures plus. And it was really interesting to look around and see that I thought I was going to like learn all these business tactics and everything. Yeah, no, the people in there that were winning the most were the ones that had the best command over their emotions and nervous system.
So good.
And it was...
It's that personal development.
Absolutely. They were the ones that were prioritizing doing the inner work first. And that were having the most wildest success. Yeah. And I really took that to heart. I mean, I've always been obsessed with personal development. Yeah. My mom and I were teaching like the color code when I was in 16 in high school. Like, who does that? Do you remember that book, Who Moved My Cheese? Yeah. Yeah, it was about like organizational change. We taught that. Fish, the guys at the wharf in Seattle. It's where they like throw the fish.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Anyways, that was about like morale and team building and everything. But we would teach these workshops when I was in high school. I've always been obsessed with personal development. But it brought me back to it because I don't think that I think there was this window of time where it was like, you're always like looking at all of these things. The best thing that we can do for ourselves is learn about ourselves. Yes. And I think as women, we become really detached from who we are. And that is mostly what I see now that I'm one-on-one coaching is this really incredible disconnect between who women are at their core and at their essence and the roles that they've played. And most of what they are identifying with are the roles that they played in their life. Mom, wife, sister, daughter, friend, employee, whatever they are, and not understanding who they are. So that personal development piece is ultimately what brings them back. I know you and I share a love affair with all kinds of assessments. But that's been one of the game changers for me personally is understanding myself so well that even I can then be like, oh, well, that was really, I'm an Enneagram 3, so I can be quite a bulldozer to my goals. And that's what I did for the first 3 years of my real estate career. Like I went from 0 sales to top 1% in 18 months. Wow. I did that because I can be a bulldozer, right? Like,
but then you burned out.
But yeah, exactly. It comes at a cost. One of the other things about Enneagram 3 is that I can be a performer. We're performative. We are show people, right? Well, I didn't recognize that sometimes that can be appear as manipulative. Interesting. And so just having like all of these insights into who I am, and then one of the other tools that I use is Strength Finders. Yep. And I love that one because I'm like, it shows you your gifts. So like my number one is futuristic. How useful is that in real estate, right? Yep. Like most people are like, futuristic, what good is that? Well, it's pretty nice to have somebody who's like scanning the future, knows your goals, and can help you find the fastest path to get there and mitigate any risk along the way. Like I'd hire that person, right? So understanding that. And so those are the things that I feel like are starting to bring women back to themselves, is like realizing that we all have our own unique gifts. And I don't even really know how I got on that topic, but
no, I think it's that self-development. If Enneagram is something you're interested in diving into, I do have a podcast recorded. I think it's episode 8.
I was listening
with
to it.
Tessa Graff. Yes. So good.
Yes.
But that is how I started my journey on personal development, was the Enneagram.
Okay.
And I joke because I was terrified of therapy. I was like, no, we're not doing that. We're not talking to strangers. And Enneagram was almost like my dip in the toe of like, oh, okay, this isn't too bad.
Yeah.
Like I learned a lot of foundational things about myself that weren't scary.
Okay.
And
I
it was science based. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't emotional.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, this is who you are.
Right.
This is how you were created.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it means when you're under stress. This is what it means when you're doing really well. And this is how you react to things. And so it was just like a beautiful entry to therapy. And it gave me like enough proof that I wasn't going to die.
Totally.
If I actually dove into therapy. So I was able to like hire a therapist and do more work. But it really was like, I call it my gateway drug to like really finding out who I was. So I did that, then dove into therapy. And then now human design. I'm loving that.
I love human design. I've been in therapy since I was 6 years old.
Amazing. I was not.
My parents got divorced when I was really young, and I don't know if this is true, but I think that they required therapy. So it was pretty useless when I was that age. We were like playing like finger football, like where
you think
like,
it was useless.
I mean, but I learned a lot of tools that, you know, as I was thinking of like writing my book and all of the tools that I had to share. The first half of my book is really about regulating nervous system and overcoming burnout, and all of those tools. And I've had those all since I was young. You forget about them. But therapy and understanding yourself via assessments is a huge projector. So I'm a human design projector.
Yeah. Oh, my son's a projector.
Absolutely blew my mind. And it explained so many things about myself that I had a lot of shame around.
Yeah.
So, for example, I require so much sleep, Coley. It is not normal. I've always been like, why do I have like, I can sleep all the time. And I love sleep, and I really struggle with energy management. And when I found out I was a projector and I read into it, and I was like, oh my gosh, projectors, we don't create our own energy. Like we absorb the energy of the people that are around us. But I always felt very sensitive to energies of other people too. And I'm like, did you notice that so-and-so felt off? And people are like, nah, I didn't notice. And I'm like, you didn't notice?
Right.
So it helped me like explain in words that I understood, like who I am in this world. But one of the main reasons why I don't have children is because I require so much sleep. And now that was like, oh, okay, there's actually like a reason there's nothing wrong with me. This is just who I am as a person.
Right.
And then being able to design my business around it. So I actually think it's really funny that projectors wait for the invitation. And part of the reason why I'm not moving forward with the mastermind is because I had to like go sell that program and put myself on other people.
For you.
So icky. I mean, complete misalignment. And because I want to be invited.
And I want to pause here for just a second, because I think it's so important. We talk about alignment. If you've been listening to this podcast since the beginning, you know that I talk about alignment probably in every episode because it's so important. But I don't want people to miss this. Is like, you sold out every year of your mastermind, and it was not a cheap ticket.
No, $15,000.
And so I just want to be clear, like super clear, if you're listening, and how many times in our lives are we looking and going, this doesn't feel right? But when we look on paper, you're like, how do I say no to this? I'm making money, or whatever it is. Like this on paper, this looks really good. Why would I say no to this?
It's a really hard thing to do. This is really the first time. Sunsetting the mastermind is, I think, the first time I have said like, oh, I don't need this six-figure revenue stream because it doesn't feel good.
And that's so powerful.
It is.
And terrifying. I'm sure you're feeling all the emotions.
But also it's not, because the decision feels very aligned. Like, I know now I'm not going to be putting myself into a position where I have to do things that make me, and I don't say this lightly, but like hate myself in the moment. I absolutely hated what was required of me to sell that.
And the interesting thing too that I think is just important to have a conversation about, you loved the mastermind.
The mastermind I absolutely love.
It was just selling it.
Yeah. It was the method of how I enrolled people into it years 2 and 3.
And I think it's so important to listen. Again, that goes back to our intuition. What are we paying attention to? Are we looking at the outside affirmations of like, I might feel gross doing this, but look at all this fucking money I'm making. I should just keep doing it.
Right.
Because the world says, well, no, that's the most important.
You should have seen my husband's face when I was like, yeah, I just woke up today and I'm not going to do this anymore. And he was like,
oh,
I'm really glad you spent $60,000 investing into that business this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it will all work out. Like, I absolutely know that, like, you know, I know that it's out of the highest good. Yeah. And I trust that whatever is going to come after it, even though it's not clear to me right now, is going to be in more alignment.
Right.
Because now I know, like, I didn't know about my human design when I launched the mastermind. Yeah. I also didn't know about, like, planning around your energy cycles, around the moon cycles, around the season cycles, like that's relatively new learning to me as well. And I'm like, oh, well, I was launching in December and January, and that is not an expansive time. That's a time where we should be like hunkered down and
like the bears. We should be hibernating. Okay, so when's a good time to launch something for those listening?
I mean, I think the springtime does actually make like a good time. Like that's when, like, think about the earth, when the earth is like inhaling, right? And so I was just, you know, I'm just curious about it now. So I'm like, I would change everything about how I structured that, the timing of that program, when I'm selling the program, how I'm selling it. I'm really big into evergreen now. So like anything I do now, I don't think will have like a clear start and stop, which is what I've loved the founders model of, like, it's just evergreen. It's ongoing forever. That was a new term to me because I wasn't in the online, you know, coaching community environment. So, you know, I'm just continuing to learn, but like now I have so much more information that the next iteration is going to be
amazing,
10x,
right? And aligned.
Yeah. So
you won't hit yourself for it.
Oh my gosh.
And it's so interesting. And I think women do this more than men. This is not scientific, but I think it's just from
it's a Coley
observation.
Fact. Okay?
It's a Coley fact. I have a lot of those. Also, I can't remember numbers or statistics anytime.
Totally fine.
So I like make sure that. So if you hear a statistic on this podcast, it's likely that it's like close, but it's definitely not accurate.
It's an ish. It's fine.
It's an ish. Now I forgot what I'm even talking about, which is also a Coleyism. But I just think like women do this more often, is that we second guess ourselves. We are pushing through this, we've been told that business is hard. We've been told that, you know, things should feel hard. And so instead of listening to our intuition, where it's going, something's off, we're going, no, this is just hard.
Yeah.
So how did you, maybe as you were kind of deciding through this mastermind, like how were you able to decipher that? Like, was it just hard and uncomfortable? Because obviously we hear all the time, we talk about it all the time. I coach through this, is like, to get to that next level is uncomfortable. It's not fun, but there is a difference of misalignment and then growth.
Right.
And it's a very fine line.
It is so fine.
So how did you decipher that when you were kind of talking about or starting to think about sunsetting your mastermind?
Yeah. It's that
difference.
That one's really hard because I did struggle with it. Like, part of me was like, oh, well, how's this going to look to other people? Who am I going to let down in the process? And, you know, those were all external things. But when I got really quiet, it wasn't really even a question. I didn't want to do it anymore. And it wasn't about it being hard. Really. I mean, it was hard. But it was just like, no, there's got to be there's a better way. And so yes, I'm sunsetting that particular format.
Offer,
but, you know, I had achieved so much in it that, like, I'm very proud of it. I created a 6-figure income stream in literally 30 days. And it was extremely profitable for the first 2 years. Not profitable this year because I reinvested.
You reinvested,
I mean, it's fine. It's fine. And that will pay back over time.
Totally.
And so I feel like I still struggle a little bit with that of like, did I just quit? Was I 3 feet from gold? You've heard that story, right? Like you know, like, did I just quit 3 feet from gold? But what I sat back and I looked at was the format was not scalable.
It was no longer serving you in this season.
Yeah. And not that I need to serve millions of people. That's actually not even on my goal is like deep transformation. So it's not necessarily the number of people, but I was ready to expand, and the way that I had set it up wasn't expandable. So I had to close it to to close that door to open to, I know what is going to be a bigger opportunity, even though it's not clear. And I literally just woke up one morning and was like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
And people are like, you did? And I was like, yeah, I literally woke up. I thought, that's weird that I feel like this is over. I went to Pilates. I came home. We're walking the dogs. And I was like, Jason, this is not it. I'm not going to do this anymore. And, you know, his eyes bugged out a little. But he was like, I trust you. And I do at the end of the day, like, there was that time of like, am I just quitting because it's too hard? But one of the things that I learned growing up, one of my mom's friends was like neighbors with Michael Jordan.
Okay.
This is a really random way to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it
I love
anyways.
it.
And we went over there for, I can't even remember. It was just like to visit. This was one of my mom's like high school friends. And we went over there to visit, and my mom was wearing a jacket, and the woman, who is clearly very wealthy, said, you know, oh, I was waiting for that to go on sale. And my mom looked at her and was like, you have more money than anyone. What do you mean waiting for it to go on sale? And she looked at my mom and she said, only a stupid person would spend more than they have to. And I know this is a weird way to get there, but like there's an easier way to create the impact that I'm looking for.
Right.
There's a more efficient way. And if there's anything about an Enneagram 3, we're going to find the more efficient way to get there. So that's really what it was about. Like as much as it was an inside job, like it was an inside decision, like there is an easier, smarter, more efficient way for me to do what I was doing. And I'm going to find it. So it's not necessarily like an end of a chapter. It's like, or an end of a book. It's just kind of like, okay, well, that was the first section, and now we're going to figure out the next section.
Well, and I love that you were able to, so often I think people would try to figure out what's next first before they sunset it. For sure. And I've been doing a lot of deep dive into like manifesting more, and like we often ask for more or bigger, and yet we don't make room for it.
For sure. The space.
And we have to make space. And I did this meditation. I'm going all woo-woo, guys.
Love woo.
It's been so fun. But I did this meditation, and she was saying you actually need to like visualize a object that's kind of like fills space. Okay. So it's just void. There's nothing in it. It's not like a color. It's nothing. It's just kind of a space filler. Okay. And you need to like visualize that coming into your body and moving things out to create space. And then that's where you can call more in from.
Interesting.
So you've created that space to then, like, if you're asking for more and you're not creating space,
right? I mean, that doesn't work, right?
There's nowhere for it to go. And so I just love like your trust of your intuition to go, this has got to be done so that I can have room for what's next.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do think that we all try and know like what the answer is to next, and it's really people are having a really hard time with me not knowing what's next. Like I'm really just trying to stay curious. Yeah. I've never been in a position. I feel like it's a real luxury to be able to be just curious for once. And I'm really excited to see what I come up with when I'm not in scarcity mode. All my bills are paid. I have a great real estate business. I have the best clients. Even in my worst year, it's a great business. I absolutely love that side of my business. And thankfully I have that. And a lot of people don't have the luxury to have like a really nice income stream to be able to be like, gee, what do I want to do over here? So I realized that's, unique to be able to have that. But yeah, I mean, I had to let it go, and my inclination was to create something to follow it up. So I had an answer for everyone then when they would say, what's next?
Well, that's the smart sales thing to do, right?
Totally. Like, I mean,
here's my wait list.
Well, think about it this way. Most people would never leave a job. Well, I certainly would never leave a job before I had another job. And this is kind of, a cool place to be in where I did this for fun. I did this for fulfillment. It was never meant to be the main hustle, if you will. It certainly has been successful and fruitful, but like, I'm really just curious, but it comes now from like, okay, how can I serve this industry? Because I'm going to come back to my grandma on this one. Like, I saw the poise, the professionalism, and the respect that she had that is gone from our industry. A lot of realtors are like jumping in pools and doing all this crazy stuff to sell houses. And like, I'm just not about it. Would you expect that from your doctor, from your lawyer? Like, no.
Unfortunately, some of those people are doing that too.
Well, yeah, but at the end of the day, that's not who I'm going to hire. And I don't think that real estate was meant to be an entertainment industry.
Right.
We handle people's, largest investment. And so I come back to like, how can I bring some of that back to the industry? And maybe that's a really big goal, to like transform my little corner of the industry. But I do really want to honor my grandma and me by bringing back some of the poise, the professionalism, and the respect. And I think that's really what like Legacy Agents as a brand was about, is like, how can you live with integrity, authenticity, transparency, and serve your clients and your families. And your legacy is really built day by day, right? It's not what people say when you're gone. You're going to be gone.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I do not want my legacy to be best realtor ever. That's not going to be on my gravestone. So I that's really what I'm in, like this, like, okay, how can I make good, positive impact on this, and being just curious about what that is. So we'll
Can't wait to see what's next. Okay, so we end this podcast every time with a tits up moment.
Love a tits up moment.
So do you have anything, could be business, it could be life, anything you want to share that's kind of your tits up moment, meaning you were maybe nervous about something, unsure about something, and you were like, you know what, shoulders back, chin up, tits up, like, let's do it.
Give me a second to think on that one.
I mean, besides what we all just talked about this whole podcast, but
I think that just kind of this last, turning 40 is like wild. And it is really just like a new season. I think I'm not necessarily going to go backwards and say, like, I think my tits up moment's still coming.
Okay.
I feel like we're on the cusp of a tits up moment. But, I've had a couple over the times, like leaving corporate America and, both my parents had Fortune 500 or not Fortune 500. Both my parents had very long careers, like 30-year careers with the same company. Wow. I lovingly refer to myself as the black sheep. I think continuing to show up every day and honor my authenticity and like who I am as a person, in spite of like that, a lot of times it doesn't feel accepted or embraced by not only my family, but sometimes, when you're not just, you fit in the box, not having children. I think that's a tits up moment because most people expect you to, right? So I think there's a lot of little ones, but I still think my biggest one's coming.
I love it.
We're on the cusp of her.
I can't wait. How can our listeners find you?
The best way to connect with me is on Instagram. My handle is Lindsay with an A, because A's are awesome and E's are L. Yeah, you heard that right.
I have not heard that. That's hilarious.
Lindsay.Fricks, and that's really the best way to connect with me.
We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Amazing.
Thanks for being here. This is amazing. Loved
so
it.
Fun. What a random conversation. I love everything about it.
That's what we do here.
I love that.
Love it. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If this spoke to you, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. You've got this. Stay clear, stay grounded, and stay true to what you're building. Until next time, tits up.